the stories, the journey, the wild behind the scenes, and much more. I'm Dave Anthony, and I'm the host of From Garage to Stadiums. The next phase we're going to enter into is kind of the night at the opera and day at the races. This kind of breaks them a little bit, does it not?
Yeah, those were the big breakthrough albums, and you know, by this time they'd extricated themselves from this management deal that I was talking about before. I mean, that business side of it is actually very important to the story, because they were incredibly frustrated and restless and ambitious and desperate to become successful, and they felt they were being held back. So, you know, they got themselves out of that deal, got a new manager, and made a night at the opera. And there's a song in it called "Death on Two Legs," which is about their.
I was going to mention that "Death on Two Legs." One of the most castigating songs you could ever hear.
It's a big part that it sums up that sort of mindset that they were in, especially Freddie Mercury at that time. You know, they were watching people like David Bowie and Roxy Music getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and they wanted a piece of that. And I think they felt they were held back. So a night at the opera is them sort of exploding in every sense of the word, I think, musically and personality wise.
Right. And there is what songs do you think we should play off those? Like, I mean, you've got You're My Best Friend, Love of My Life, of course. The big hit is Bohemian Rhapsody. Now, was this a hit when it first came out?
Yes, it was in the UK. It's probably my earliest memory of Queen would have been seeing that on TV, the video, and hearing it on the radio. So that's not a song I really care to hear now. It's a bit like Stairway. It's like Stairway to Heaven. I've heard it so many times. It's sort of it's in my brain. Do I need to hear it again? I don't know. Play Death on Two Legs.
Yeah. We're going to do that. Yeah, for sure. Like, you know, what's interesting is the fact that they were making a video, that was pretty pioneering for the day, was it not?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Very much so. And that video at the time was, it looks quite primitive now, but it's very, very effective at the time. You know, you see these four faces and the trails coming off it. It looked good. I mean, our TV sets, you got to remember, in England in 1975, you know, there's 3 TV channels. Our TV sets are probably the size of my laptop now. Yeah, right. These are primitive days. You had to make an impact. That made an impact. People were talking about it at school the next day. So that was, that's important.
The Tie Your Mother Down, Somebody to Love on Day at the Races, 2 heavy-hitting tunes. What's interesting about this band is you never know what's coming next on an album. You've got heavy-duty, ass-kicking, heavy rock, and then the next song will be a ballad with Freddie on a piano, and then you'll get an operatic, many voices melding together. It's just an incredible innovation, I guess you'd say, with respect to the sounds these guys range they have.
Well, I think it's also because you had 4 songwriters in the band, which is
good point.
Quite unusual. So you've got 4 people fighting to get their songs on the record. It was generally accepted that Freddie Mercury was the main writer, but Brian May was very much, I think, second writer. Then you've got John Deacon and Roger Taylor fighting to get tracks on there. I mean, don't forget, Roger Taylor had the B-side of Bohemian Rhapsody, I'm in Love with My Car, which of course changed everything because he made as much money from the single as Freddie Mercury did from the A-side. Oh, so by the time you get to A Day at the Races, you've got a situation where your lead singer and your drummer are significantly wealthier than the other 2 members of the band.
Yeah.
And, you know, that caused a little bit of a rift. I think it was accepted with Freddie Mercury, but when you've got Roger Taylor zooming up to the studio in a new Ferrari and, you know, buying a massive townhouse, and and Brian May and John Deacon are still living relatively modestly, I think that probably ruffled a few feathers, perhaps.
It's interesting. I feel like we've done a full circle in music. We went from the single of the 60s and into the 70s. Then we went to the albums. And then we've returned back now with modern music. It's almost like the single is out because nobody knows the albums anymore.
Yeah, I think it has gone that way. You're right. It's about songs now, isn't it? Rather than a whole body of work. It's interesting with Queen because they had hit singles, but those albums were finessed. You know, those albums were put together to be listened to as a body of work. very, very, very much so.
Right. Yeah. The the next album I think was News of the World. Full disclosure was the first album I bought.
Mm.
And of course, it had the song that's probably played as much as Happy Birthday. It's got We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions. I mean, every high school, every college, everybody who's ever won anything, that's been played the next day, has it not?
Yeah, it has been, and I think that was almost the idea behind how they wrote. I mean, Brian May wrote "We Will Rock You." Freddie Mercury did "We Are the Champions," but this was a reaction. It was a reaction to the kind of the reaction they were getting from audiences when they were playing arenas. They were into the big arenas by this point here. Audiences would keep singing after they'd left, chants. It was like a football chant, or
Yeah.
soccer, as you would say. So Brian May went away and wrote "We Will Rock You" as a song that his audience could sing. It's kind of quite meta in a way. They're very reactive to their audience in a way that, I don't necessarily think the Rolling Stones or the Who were. They sat down and went, "We're going to write, let's have two anthems on this album," and of course, not just one, we'll have two completely different
Yeah.
songs, but both worked perfectly.
And you think the English heritage of the band and of obviously the football, soccer that you mentioned, I mean, that does sound like one of those stadium kind of chanting things that the fans do at the soccer matches.
Yeah, it would. It was very, very much like that. Yeah.
The because just a note to the audience, "We Will Rock You" was written by Brian May, and "We Are the Champions" was written by Freddie Mercury, and the two were fused together as one release.